For more than 2,000 years, one name has echoed through history: Rome. An empire so powerful that it reshaped the world forever. But every empire has a beginning. And Rome's story began not with an army, but with a legend. According to ancient tradition, twin brothers Romulus and Remus were abandoned beside the Tiber River as helpless infants. Against all odds, they survived. Not because of kings or soldiers, but because a she-wolf protected and nursed them until a shepherd discovered the children and raised them as his own. As the twins grew older, they became fearless hunters and natural leaders. Strong, ambitious, and respected by those around them, they dreamed of building a city unlike any the world had ever seen. Neither brother could have imagined that their dream would change history forever. But before the city could rise, conflict divided the brothers. Each believed the gods had chosen a different hill as the perfect place for their new kingdom. Their disagreement soon became a bitter rivalry, one that would end in tragedy. Romulus emerged as the sole survivor. In 753 BC, he founded a settlement on Palatine Hill and named it after himself: Rome. What began as a small village of wooden homes would one day become the greatest empire in the ancient world. Life in early Rome was simple. Farmers worked the surrounding fields. Blacksmiths forged tools and weapons. Families built wooden homes beneath the warm Italian sun. No one living there could have imagined the incredible future awaiting their city. The village quickly grew into a thriving community. Merchants arrived from neighboring lands, markets filled with grain, livestock, pottery, and handcrafted goods. With every passing year, Rome became stronger, richer, and more confident. Romulus ruled as Rome's first king. He organized the city's government, strengthened its defenses, and transformed scattered settlers into loyal citizens. The foundations of Roman civilization were slowly taking shape. At the same time, Rome's young warriors trained relentlessly. Day after day, they practiced with shields, spears, and swords. Discipline became their greatest weapon. Long before Rome conquered the world, its soldiers first conquered themselves. From high above Palatine Hill, the young city stretched across the landscape beside the Tiber River. It was still small, still vulnerable. Yet within these humble walls, history had already begun. Over the generations, Rome continued to expand. Wooden houses became stone buildings. New roads connected growing neighborhoods. Temples rose above the skyline as the city transformed into the dominant power of central Italy. Behind every successful army stood skilled craftsmen. Inside roaring workshops, blacksmiths shaped glowing metal into swords, helmets, shields, and armor. Each hammer strike strengthened Rome's future. Religion guided nearly every part of Roman life. Citizens gathered inside magnificent temples to honor Jupiter, Mars, and the other Roman gods. They believed the protection of the gods was just as important as the strength of their armies. Yet not every ruler governed wisely. Rome's final king, Tarquinius Superbus, ruled through fear instead of trust. His growing tyranny slowly turned the people against the monarchy. Secret meetings began beneath the cover of darkness. Influential Romans whispered of freedom. Generals, senators, and ordinary citizens realized that their future could no longer remain in the hands of one king. At last, the people acted. The king was driven from Rome. His exile marked the end of the Roman kingdom and the beginning of an entirely new chapter in history. In place of kings, Rome created something revolutionary: a republic. Citizens elected leaders. Power would be shared. The Roman Senate became the voice of the growing nation. Inside the Senate House, passionate debates shaped Rome's future. Laws were written, wars were planned, alliances were formed. Every decision brought the Republic one step closer to greatness. Meanwhile, Rome's armies evolved into the most disciplined fighting force of the ancient world. Thousands of soldiers marched as one. Every movement was practiced, every formation perfected. Their discipline would soon become legendary. By the 3rd century before Christ, Rome was no longer just another city. It had become a rising republic with ambitions far beyond Italy. Across the Mediterranean, a powerful rival was already watching. Its name was Carthage. By the 3rd century before Christ, Rome had become the strongest republic in Italy. But across the Mediterranean stood another rising superpower, a wealthy civilization whose ships ruled the sea. Carthage. For years, Rome and Carthage competed for trade, influence, and territory. Neither empire trusted the other. What began as political tension soon grew into one of history's greatest rivalries. The Punic Wars had begun. Carthage was unlike anything Rome had faced before. Its magnificent harbors welcomed merchants from Africa, Spain, and the Middle East. Its navy dominated the Mediterranean. Its wealth seemed limitless. Among Carthage's greatest leaders was a young boy named Hannibal Barca. As a child, he stood before a sacred altar and made a promise that would define his life. He swore eternal hatred against Rome. Years later, Hannibal fulfilled that promise. Instead of attacking from the sea, he chose an impossible path. Leading thousands of soldiers and mighty war elephants, he marched toward the towering Alps. The journey tested every man. Snowstorms, freezing winds, narrow mountain paths, and deadly cliffs claimed countless lives. Yet Hannibal refused to turn back. Against all expectations, his army crossed the Alps. When Roman scouts first saw elephants emerging from the mountain mist, they could hardly believe their eyes. The impossible had happened. The enemy now stood inside Italy itself. The two armies finally met on the fields of Cannae. Hannibal executed one of the greatest military strategies ever recorded. His forces surrounded the Roman legions from every side. What followed became one of Rome's darkest military disasters. Inside the Roman Senate, fear spread through every chamber. Some believed the Republic would never recover. Others demanded surrender. For the first time in generations, Rome faced the possibility of complete destruction. But Rome refused to surrender. Instead of seeking revenge, it rebuilt. New legions were trained. Fresh commanders emerged. Among them was a brilliant young general, Scipio. Rather than chasing Hannibal across Italy, Scipio carried the war directly to North Africa. His bold strategy forced Hannibal to abandon Italy and return home to defend Carthage. The balance of power had shifted. The two legendary commanders finally met near the city of Zama. On one side stood Hannibal. On the other, Scipio Africanus. Both understood that this battle would decide the future of the Mediterranean. The battle lasted for hours. Roman discipline proved stronger than Carthaginian determination. Hannibal was defeated. Rome had survived its greatest enemy. Victory transformed the Republic forever. Carthage lost its empire. Rome gained control of the Western Mediterranean. Its influence expanded farther than ever before. With every victory came new wealth: gold, silver, grain, and countless treasures flowed into Rome. The Republic entered an age of extraordinary prosperity, but success also brought ambition. Generals returned home as heroes. Their victories earned them fame, fortune, and loyal armies. Soon, some commanders began believing they were greater than the Republic itself. And political rivalries intensified. Powerful families competed for influence. The Senate became divided. The unity that had made Rome strong slowly began to weaken. Out of this growing chaos, one young aristocrat began attracting attention. He was intelligent, fearless, charismatic. His name, Julius Caesar. While many senators feared change, Caesar embraced it. His ambition stretched far beyond politics. He dreamed of transforming Rome into something greater than anyone had imagined. Few people realized the rise of Julius Caesar would end the Roman Republic forever and give birth to the Roman Empire. After years of brilliant victories, Julius Caesar returned to Rome as its greatest hero. The streets overflowed with cheering crowds. To many Romans, he was no longer just a general. He was a legend. The Senate rewarded Caesar with unprecedented power. He was declared dictator for life. To his supporters, it promised stability. To his enemies, it looked like the end of the Republic. Behind the marble walls of the Senate, a conspiracy quietly took shape. Some senators believed they were saving Rome. Others feared Caesar's growing influence. Together, they made a decision that would change history forever. On the morning of March 15th, 44 BC, Caesar walked toward the Senate House. Despite warnings and strange omens, he refused to stay away. He believed Rome still stood beside him. Moments later, the Senate erupted into chaos. Caesar fell beneath the statue of Pompey. With him, the old Republic began to die. Rome would never be the same again. Outside the Senate, thousands gathered to hear Mark Antony speak. His emotional funeral speech transformed grief into anger. The crowd demanded justice. Civil war had become inevitable. Among Caesar's heirs stood a quiet young man, Octavian. Few believed he possessed the strength to rule, but history was about to prove them wrong. Octavian joined forces with Mark Antony and Lepidus. Together they formed the Second Triumvirate. Their mission was simple: defeat Caesar's enemies and restore order to Rome. The final struggle unfolded at the Battle of Actium. Across the sea, Octavian's fleet faced Antony and Cleopatra. The fate of Rome rested upon a single battle. Victory belonged to Octavian. Antony and Cleopatra were defeated. The centuries-old Roman Republic had reached its end. A new empire was about to rise. In 27 BC, the Senate granted Octavian a new title, Augustus. He became Rome's first emperor, opening one of the greatest chapters in human history. Under Augustus, peace spread across the empire. Trade flourished. Cities expanded. For the first time in generations, Rome enjoyed remarkable stability. Roman engineers connected the empire with thousands of miles of roads. Their work united distant provinces. Merchants, soldiers, and ideas could now travel faster than ever before. Massive aqueducts carried fresh water across valleys and mountains. Public fountains flowed endlessly. Bathhouses became symbols of Roman civilization. Engineering itself became Rome's greatest weapon. Markets overflowed with goods from every corner of the empire: silk from Asia, spices from Arabia, grain from Egypt, wine from Italy. Rome had become the center of the ancient world. Far beyond the capital, Roman legionaries guarded the empire's vast frontiers, whether in deserts, mountains, or frozen forests. Their discipline protected Rome for generations. Soon, a monument unlike any before began to rise, the Colosseum, an architectural masterpiece that demonstrated the wealth, confidence, and ambition of imperial Rome. When completed, the Colosseum welcomed tens of thousands of spectators. Its enormous stone arches became a symbol recognized across the ancient world. Few buildings inspired greater admiration. As evening fell, Rome glowed beneath thousands of oil lamps. Its streets remained busy long after sunset. For many, it truly seemed like the eternal city. At its greatest extent, the Roman Empire stretched across 3 continents, from Britain to North Africa, from Spain to the Middle East. No civilization had ever ruled so much of the known world. As the 2nd century began, a new emperor carried Rome to its greatest height. His name was Trajan. Under his leadership, the empire expanded farther than ever before, from the rainy hills of Britain to the scorching deserts of Arabia, from the Atlantic Ocean to the borders of Mesopotamia. Rome now ruled millions of people across 3 continents. Its power seemed limitless. Protecting such a vast empire was no easy task. Across northern Britain, Roman engineers built an enormous defensive barrier. Hadrian's Wall became both a military fortress and a symbol of Rome's determination to defend its borders. Day and night, Roman legionaries guarded the frontier, watching distant forests, scanning endless horizons, always prepared for an invasion that could arrive without warning. Among Rome's greatest rulers was Marcus Aurelius. Unlike many emperors, he was known not only as a warrior, but also as a philosopher. He believed true strength began with wisdom, yet beneath the empire's magnificent appearance, small cracks had already begun to form. Economic troubles grew, taxes increased, trade slowed, and ordinary citizens slowly felt the weight of decline. Meanwhile, a small religious movement quietly spread across the empire. Followers of Christianity gathered in secret. Although few recognized its importance, history was already beginning to change. Everything changed under Emperor Constantine. Before one decisive battle, he believed he witnessed a heavenly sign in the sky. From that moment, the future of Rome took a completely different direction. Constantine founded a magnificent new capital, Constantinople, perfectly positioned between Europe and Asia. It quickly became one of the richest cities on earth. Soon, the Roman Empire was governed from 2 great capitals, Rome in the west, Constantinople in the east. What once stood united was now beginning to divide. Inside the imperial courts, political corruption spread rapidly. Powerful officials competed for wealth instead of serving the empire. The foundations of Roman government slowly weakened from within. Outside the palaces, life became increasingly difficult. Inflation rose. Jobs disappeared. Many farms were abandoned. The prosperity of earlier generations was fading away. Civil wars erupted across the empire. Roman soldiers who once defended the borders now fought against fellow Romans. Every conflict drained the empire's strength even further. Beyond the Danube River, entire tribes searched for new homes, driven by fear and survival. The Goths crossed into Roman territory. A new wave of migration had begun. The 2 sides met near Adrianople. The battle became one of Rome's greatest military disasters. An emperor was lost, and the empire realized its enemies were stronger than ever before. Only a few decades later, another threat appeared, led by King Alaric. The Visigoths marched directly toward the Eternal City itself. Something once thought impossible was about to happen. In the year 410, Rome was entered by foreign forces for the first time in nearly 800 years. Across the empire, people watched in disbelief. The city that once ruled the world could no longer protect itself, as if the crisis were not enough. A new conqueror emerged from the eastern plains, Attila, leader of the Huns. His advancing cavalry terrified kingdoms across Europe. Yet history sometimes changes without a battle. Outside Italy, Pope Leo met Attila face to face. After their historic meeting, the Huns turned back. One of history's greatest mysteries remains why. The empire continued to weaken. Finally, in the year 476 AD, the last emperor of the Western Roman Empire surrendered his authority. After more than 1,000 years, the Western Roman Empire had fallen. Although the Western Empire had fallen, Rome did not disappear. Far to the east, another Roman Empire still stood strong. Its capital, Constantinople, protected by enormous walls and surrounded by the sea. Constantinople became the new heart of Roman civilization. While the West descended into chaos, the East continued to prosper. Its markets welcomed merchants from Europe, Asia, and Africa. Gold, silk, spices, and precious goods flowed through its harbors. Once again, Rome stood at the center of world trade. One emperor dreamed of restoring Rome's lost glory. His name was Justinian. He believed the empire could rise once more, and he was determined to make that dream a reality. Under Justinian's rule, one of history's greatest architectural masterpieces began to rise. The Hagia Sophia. Its enormous dome seemed to float above the earth itself. Visitors stood speechless beneath its beauty. Inside its walls, golden mosaics reflected sunlight across marble floors. It became more than a church. It became a symbol of Roman engineering, faith, and artistic brilliance. While kingdoms rose and fell, Roman scholars carefully preserved thousands of ancient books, history, science, medicine, law. Without them, much of the ancient world might have been lost forever. Across Europe, Roman roads still carried travelers. Ancient aqueducts still delivered water. Stone bridges still connected distant lands. Even centuries after the empire's fall, its engineering continued serving humanity. Roman ideas spread across generations. Its legal system inspired future governments. Its language shaped new civilizations. Its architecture influenced cities yet to be built. Rome's greatest victory was no longer military. It was cultural. As Europe slowly emerged from the Middle Ages, people once again looked back to ancient Rome. Its knowledge, its philosophy, its achievements would soon inspire an entirely new age. In the year 1453, Constantinople faced its greatest challenge. The mighty Ottoman Empire surrounded the city. The final chapter of Roman history had begun. For weeks, massive cannons shook the ancient walls. Defenders fought with extraordinary courage, but every passing day, the city's strength faded. On May 29th, the walls were finally breached. After more than 1,000 years, the Eastern Roman Empire came to an end. The last chapter of ancient Rome had closed. Yet something remarkable happened. Scholars escaped carrying priceless books and manuscripts. They brought Rome's forgotten knowledge back to Western Europe. History was about to begin again. Those ancient writings inspired artists, scientists, architects, and philosophers. The Renaissance was born, and once again, Rome shaped the future. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and countless great thinkers studied Roman ideas. Ancient knowledge became the foundation of modern civilization. Across Europe, governments borrowed Roman laws. Architects copied Roman designs. Engineers admired Roman innovation. Even without an empire, Rome still led the world. Thousands of years later, Roman influence crossed the Atlantic. Many public buildings in Washington, D.C. were designed using classical Roman architecture. The legacy had reached a new continent: modern democracy, republican government, legal systems, military organization, road networks. Many of the ideas we consider ordinary today can trace their origins back to ancient Rome. Rome was no longer an empire, but its spirit survived, not through armies, but through ideas. Ideas that would continue shaping the world for centuries to come. Nearly 2,000 years have passed. Yet across Europe, ancient Roman roads still stretch through valleys, forests, and mountains. Built by engineers with nothing more than stone, mathematics, and determination. Many of these roads continue to serve travelers even today. Great engineering can outlive empires. The same is true for Rome's incredible aqueducts. Towering arches still stand proudly against the sky, defying earthquakes, storms, and the passage of time. These structures once carried fresh water to millions of people. They were not simply monuments. They were proof that Roman innovation was centuries ahead of its time. Every year, millions of visitors walk through the Colosseum. They stand beneath its weathered stone arches, imagining the cheers of crowds that filled the arena nearly 2,000 years ago. Though damaged by time, the Colosseum remains one of humanity's greatest architectural achievements. Its silence still tells the story of an empire that once ruled the known world. Rome's greatest legacy was never only its armies, it was its ideas. Roman law became the foundation for countless legal systems around the globe. Concepts such as citizenship, justice, contracts, and equal treatment before the law can all trace their origins back to ancient Rome. Even the languages spoken by hundreds of millions today carry Rome's voice. Latin evolved into Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Romanian, and countless English words still come directly from the language once spoken on the streets of Rome. Although the empire disappeared, its words never truly faded away. Rome also transformed warfare forever. Engineering corps, supply systems, and battlefield tactics became models studied by commanders for centuries. Even many modern military traditions still reflect principles first perfected by Roman legionaries. Look carefully at many government buildings around the world. Their towering columns, grand domes, marble staircases, and symmetrical designs all reveal the unmistakable influence of Roman architecture. Without realizing it, millions of people walk through buildings inspired by ancient Rome every single day. From Europe to North America, Roman influence quietly surrounds us. Roads, bridges, courthouses, universities, libraries. Even the very idea of a republic continues to echo through modern civilization. The empire may have fallen, but its foundations remain beneath the modern world. History often remembers Rome for its battles, its emperors, and its vast conquests. But Rome's greatest victory was something far more powerful. It taught generations how to organize societies, build cities, write laws, connect continents, and preserve knowledge. Long after its borders vanished, its civilization continued shaping humanity itself. As the sun slowly sets over the ruins of the Roman Forum, it was an idea that inspired kingdoms, empires, and nations for more than 2,000 years. Stone may crumble, empires may fall, but ideas can live forever. As the first rays of sunlight touched the ancient ruins of the Roman Forum, broken columns cast long shadows across stones that had witnessed centuries of triumph and tragedy. Once, these streets echoed with senators debating the future of the world. Today, only silence remains. Yet, even in silence, Rome continues to speak to those willing to listen. Across Europe, ancient bridges continue carrying travelers across rivers. Aqueducts still stand proudly against the sky. Each surviving monument reminds us that Rome was built not only for its own generation, but for countless generations that would follow. The Roman Senate disappeared long ago, but its ideas never truly vanished. Representative government, public debate, written law, and civic responsibility became foundations for future democracies. Even today, the principles born in ancient Rome continue guiding nations around the world. Walk through the streets of Washington, London, Paris, or countless other great cities. Towering marble columns, grand domes, triumphal arches. They are more than beautiful buildings. They are echoes of ancient Rome, standing proudly in the modern world. Rome also changed the way humanity built civilizations. Its engineers mastered roads, water systems, concrete, bridges, public buildings, and city planning. Many of these ideas became the blueprint for civilizations that followed. Even today, modern engineering still reflects lessons first learned by Roman builders. Its language shaped entire families of modern languages. Its legal traditions inspired constitutions. Its military organization influenced armies. Its philosophy challenged generations to think differently. Rome's greatest conquest was never land. It was knowledge. History remembers the rise of Rome, its mighty emperors, its fearless legionaries. But perhaps Rome's greatest achievement was proving that an idea can survive long after an empire has fallen. Stone eventually crumbles. Power eventually fades. Ideas can become immortal. Every generation tells the story of Rome differently. For some, it is a tale of conquest. For others, it is a lesson about ambition, leadership, success, and the dangers of pride. Its victories inspire us. Its mistakes remind us that no civilization is invincible. From a small village beside the Tiber River to an empire stretching across 3 continents, Rome transformed the course of human history, spread knowledge, built cities, changed governments, and left behind a legacy that continues shaping our everyday lives, even 2,000 years later. As the sun slowly rises above the Colosseum, the ancient stones glow once more beneath the golden light. The empire itself may have disappeared. Its armies have long since marched into history. But the spirit of Rome lives on, not in palaces, but in the laws we follow, the cities we build, the ideas we protect, and the civilization we continue to shape. Because empires may fall, but greatness never truly dies. This is the story of Rome.